Music Theory for Beginners, Part 4, Triads. We see different scales all the time, but what can we do with them? There are many things we can do with them, and one of them is to make chords. Let's take the major scale and turn it into a chord. Most common chords consist of just 3 notes. If we look at the C major scale again, the notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. The formula for a major triad is the root note, the 3rd note, and the 5th note. In our C major scale, that are the notes C, E, and G. This means the C major chord consists of these 3 notes. Now these notes can be repeated, and they often are, but any combination of these 3 notes make up a C major chord. That's why there are so many variations of the same chord. Another example. If we have an E major scale and we use the same formula, root, 3rd, and 5th, then we get the notes E, G sharp, and B. And these 3 notes together make up the E major chord. Good to know, this formula works for every major chord. Now what about minor chords? The formula for a minor triad is the root note, the flattened 3rd, and the 5th. Flattened 3rd just means we take the 3rd note and we go down half a tone. So in the example earlier with the E chord, our G sharp becomes a G. So if we play an open G string instead of the 1st fret, we now have an E minor chord. As I said earlier, most chords consist of just 3 notes, but there are exceptions. Power chords, like C5, D5, E5, etc., only have 2 notes. These consist of the root note and the 5th note from the major scale. Power chords are often played with the root note, the 5th, and the root note again, but 1 octave higher. Some chords also consist of 4 different notes. 6th or 7th chords like the C minor 6th or the C major 7th. They are the triads we know with 1 note added, but don't worry about these for now. Besides the open chord shapes we know, an easy way to play all the 12 major and minor chords are with bar chords. If you know these 4 shapes, you can play all the major and minor chords on 5 or 6 strings. The root note, the lowest note you play on either the low E or A string, determines which chord it is. This was part 4. The next part will be about chord families.